Well, we haven't gotten it yet. We'll be getting it. We'll be looking for landmines. I don't want to see a shutdown. Shutdown would be a terrible thing.
The president, of course, there is talking about the bill that would avert another shutdown. The deadline, by the way, this Friday. And as usual, the president, he's all over the map. Now, the far right, including the Freedom Caucus and people like Ann Coulter, they hate the deal because it doesn't give the wall money that they want. Hannity, he called the deal garbage just the other day, but now sounds like he's changing his tune.
I'm not as concerned as some other conservatives if the president signs the bill, but there's a couple of ifs. And that would be the president would need to declare a national emergency. This is the time. That is a necessity.
And joining us now, ABC News political director Rick Klein. All right, Rick, I'm going to ask you the question I'm sure 80 people have asked already. He may not like it. He probably is going to sign it. Well, why hasn't he publicly said he will sign it? And is this just 11th hour drama, or is there any reason to believe this thing may not get done by Friday?
Well, first, there is no bill to even say you'll sign. It's still being drafted. It'll probably be a bill by the end of the night tonight and probably approved by the House and Senate tomorrow. Second, I don't know that it's legitimately undecided, but I think he is worried about the political implications. He's hearing about it from his right flank all over again. They're quite angry about this deal. They're saying that the president should veto it. Does he go that far? I think he is laying lots of groundwork for him to get himself to get to yes, but again, signaling his reluctance around all of it. And look, if you look at this framework, you can understand why he's not happy. He's getting less money than he would have gotten before the shutdown back in December, and he's not being able to deliver on that core promise of funding the border wall. Instead, it's going to have to be something around rebuilding existing fencing and new barriers. It's not a wall.
Hannity last night seemed to hedge, at least in some of the initial criticism, in that he said, okay, fine, sign it, but as long as there is a but, which is sign, either declare a national emergency or take money from somewhere else. Is that going to be part of the compact the president does, which is a two-step? Yeah, he'll sign the thing, but he'll either take money from, emergency relief, or he'll declare an emergency, and then by the time it sorts out in the courts, in the meantime, he'll declare victory. What's part two, if there is going to be a part two for the president?
I think it's likely that there is a part two that is accompanied by either a national emergency or an announcement of using other funds, repurposing those funds toward additional barrier structures around the wall, around the border, including a wall. I think the legality of that is questionable. The politics also questionable. You'll have many Republicans angry about it. As you mentioned, it could be held up in courts for some time. It isn't ideal. There isn't a backdoor way to get a border wall of this magnitude actually constructed. But there are other things the president can do to signal that he is committed to doing it. And moving in that direction. And I think this mantra of finish the wall is something that he is going to continue to hammer on. And he may blame others, Democrats in Congress, the courts, what have you, for holding him back. But he wants to show that he's making progress.
And could you also put a little clarity on the other option that I'll find the money somewhere else? It sounds good in theory, but there's no good place to take it from, which won't look and be really bad. And then also, he's not going to find that much money lying around that'll make up the difference, will he?
Yeah, this isn't loose change that's stuck in the sofa cushions. This is money that was appropriated by Congress, hundreds of millions, sometimes billions of dollars for other purposes. Disaster relief is one. Drug intervention around the border is another. Military construction on military bases in the United States. These are presumably not extraneous needs. There's someone at some level of government said this should happen, and Congress said yes. So to just drum all that up and to funnel it all toward a border wall is questionable in terms of policy or politics. And again, the legal question is out there as well. So there's you just can't do this. That's not how our system works, and there isn't that kind of discretion on the order of billions of dollars around something, a construction project of this magnitude with as many complicated implications as it would have.
Moving away from the president for a moment, what the Democrats laid out yesterday, Rick, in terms of an agenda way beyond Mueller here, we could be into 2020 with all these hearings all getting to the root of the president, Russia, money laundering. It's pretty exhaustive, and you get the idea that not irregardless of what Mueller does, but no matter what he does, they're going to be taking an active role and becoming a migraine for the president for at least seemingly the next year.
I think that's right. I mean, look, there's pent-up demand for various investigations. Every scandal, large or small, that's happened over the last couple of years, Republicans in Congress have largely given to the past. They haven't had serious oversight or scrutiny. That changed. And, of course, this president has provided more targets than anyone. And I think the challenge for Democrats in some ways is going to be choose their battles, because you can't do everything. Every headline that's emerged over the last 2 years, we forget them all the next day. You can't unearth all of them and decide that each of them is a legitimate scandal that needs hours and hours of congressional testimony and hearings and subpoenas and the like, but you can choose some, and you choose some big fish. Mueller and the Russia piece of it is a big thing. The president's taxes, business entanglements and arrangements, they can segment some things out. And I do think that once you get past that initial flurry of the launch that's happened, delayed by the shutdown, you'll see Democrats begin to focus in.
Last thing from me, Rick. Listen, we saw talking about the politics of this. In terms of the intelligence committees, in the House we had a partisan food fight for the last couple of years. But in the Senate, it was refreshing to see both the committee chairman of the Intel Committee, Senator Burr, and then also the ranking member, Senator Warner, the Democrat. They seem largely to be on the same page. They both had an appetite to get to the bottom of something. They had a big division yesterday in terms of what they have seen or not seen, whether or not collusion could or could not be there. How much of a red flag was that now even the politics has infected possibly the Senate Intel Committee?
It's significant because you're right. The Senate has been different than the House. The House, it has long since devolved into partisanship. In the Senate, there was the sense that they were going to do a serious investigation. Now, I think there were some people that were over-interpreting or misinterpreting Chairman Burr's comments on this. He isn't saying that it doesn't exist flat out. They're just saying, he's saying they haven't found evidence of it yet. Warner is saying, well, we're not done, A, and B, it really depends on how you define these things. So I think the final product is going to be the arbiter of what this disagreement is or isn't, but it is a fracture, and potentially a significant one, for people that wanted to see a bipartisan or even nonpartisan evaluation of all of the claims that have been floating around Russia.
Rick, great job. I appreciate a few minutes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Richard.
Coming up next, Democrats gearing up to take on Donald Trump in 2020. Now, one of the big questions, will primary voters pick somebody who can beat Trump, or will they want someone who passes a purity test on the issues? We'll take a look at the field and how it's shaping up so far.